Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary, the greatest marketing show on earth. My friends, it's good to be back in the saddle here. I got all kind of stuff going off here. I have been off the show here for a few days, as many of you who are regulars saw. The wonderful and talented Joanne filled in for me. She's our director of marketing and live training. And as always, it's a blast to have her here. I'm back and I couldn't be happier. I miss doing this show, and we've got a fantastic guest on this morning. Her name's Faye. She is a former medical equipment manufacturing manager who's going to share with us this morning how she's gotten consistent results. I want to remind all of you that every single one of these guests that you hear or see on the show, whether you're watching or listening into our podcast, because we do upload all of these episodes onto all the major podcast platforms. Just type in Wake Up Legendary and you'll be able to find them and listen to the audio. They're all just regular clients here at Legendary. Holy smokes, business is booming. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but my dadgum phone's ringing. All of these guests are just regular clients here to tell their story. There's no scripting, prepping, anything of that nature. What you see is what you get. What you hear is right off the cuff. You're hearing it for the first time, as am I. Somebody could come on and say, Dave, you're a complete idiot. I hate everything about you. And they would have the platform to be able to say those things for a few moments until, I either let them continue or cut them off and kick them off the show. But you would see that live, completely unedited. So anything goes here, my friends. You never know what you're going to get. This morning, I have a feeling we're going to get some good inspiration and value. With that being said, Faye, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Dave.
How are you?
Great. Cold, but great.
We're all cold right now. So
yeah.
So was everything that I said introing the show accurate?
Yes, definitely. I think the most we got for prepping beforehand is like, make sure you've got a mic in your phone. So totally freehanding this.
Which was not even from me, right? That was
it's from
backstage. I just came on 2 minutes late and said, ready to rock and roll. And here we are.
Yep.
So I just want to, say that for everybody, so everybody knows that, what we see is what you get. And many people are new or feeling new and feeling out of place and scared and uncomfortable as they try new things. And we've all been there. And that may even be the case for you now or in the recent past. And I want to get into that here in just a few moments. So welcome to the show. Really excited to have you here. Tell us how you got to Legendary in the first place, what you were looking for. Do you feel like you found what you were looking for?
Yeah. So when I first got introduced to Legendary, I was about to have a baby. And I was looking online to try and find something that I could do during my maternity leave to try and like buff up, because I was used to working so many hours. I was working 50 to 60 hours a week, even during my pregnancy up until like 37 weeks. So like that's really, really late term pregnancy to be working that many hours. So I'm like used to being able to bump up my paychecks with the overtime. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to be on this like really rigid, budget up until like for the following 3 months that I had off. So I'm like trying to find something I can do as addition on the side from home. And I found Becca and Caroline, who had gone through something really similar. And I was so inspired by their story. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check it out. I'm going to try this. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's now been about 8 months in total since I started with Legendary. And I've been able to quit my job. And I'm full stay-at-home mom now, just hanging out, which has been great.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm back here, back in the saddle, 15 hats. Oh, boom. Had to bring the DDT in on them. Wow, what a moment. I mean, congratulations. And we'll understand a little bit more, how that happened for you. But yeah, just want to take a moment to take that in, that life is different for you now. And did
Yeah.
you ever expect it to be so different in this 8 month period? I mean, that seems like quite a, quite a change. Did you have any expectations coming into this? Were they higher? Were they lower? I mean, talk to us just about, how what your take is if you were to describe how life has changed. What would you say? And what, again, was it something, did you expect this to happen? Is this totally a surprise to you? I mean, just say more about kind of your perspective on the difference between 8 months ago and now, and where you're at.
I think definitely like starting out, I was like, okay, I definitely see the potential here where like this could take over my full-time job. It could do more than that. It could take a while. And so like I kind of came in with the mindset of like, this could help me now or it could help me long term, but
Mm,
I'm gonna do whatever I can in order to keep growing and keep doing my best. I think definitely in the beginning, I was hoping it would hit really, really soon.
mm,
And like the first couple months, I really didn't see as much growth as I was hoping for. And I think I let that get the best of me. And I ended up taking a mental health break for a couple months where I didn't do any posting. I didn't do anything for my business. Um, and I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to re-go for it. And from there, things have like completely skyrocketed for me. So it's important to like keep the mindset of like being in this for the long game,
yeah.
knowing that changes can absolutely happen overnight, but that like if you play it for the long game, you're going to see more beneficial changes because you're thinking about a long-term business instead of just a quick way to grab some extra cash. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Love that. I love that perspective, and that's a wonderful answer to that sort of ambiguous question that I asked, because it helps us segue into more meat and potatoes about how you got to where you're at. Which, I mean, from the outside looking in, I would think, new baby, where'd you find the time? Holy smokes, that
Yeah.
sounds like a lot. But it makes sense now as you describe your approach coming into this, which was more, at least after a while, like more, you didn't get results as fast as you wanted to at the beginning. So obviously that was a crossroads where you could have stopped and said, hey, this is not working for me, or this isn't meant for me, or this
Right.
doesn't work. Where instead you kind of, it sounds like you said, hey, I can either have a flash in the pan mindset, or I
Mhm.
can be in this for the long haul. And
Yeah.
that seems like a defining moment. Was that before the mental health break or after? And can you say more about kind of why you decided to step back and make that decision, and how crucial do you feel that that was?
Yeah. So I felt like that was a super crucial moment for me. So I was struggling with my mental health, with postpartum depression and anxiety. I'm like, it's a lot going on. And
Yeah.
especially with having a new baby and husband going back to work and all that. And I was like, you know what? I need to take a minute and I know I need to get my mind right. I know that your mind is the biggest game changer when it comes to everything that we do in life, whether, it's trying to get a promotion or going back to school or anything. Your mindset is really what sets you in the direction that you're going to be going. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a break. I'm
Mm,
going to, get back in myself. I'm going to, really focus on becoming the best version of myself and working towards a positive mindset. I read a bunch of books. I did a lot to really work through that. And working in that way it made it so that I could refocus and realign that it's like, you know what? If I get a couple mean comments, it's not against me, it's that person's own limiting self belief about what they're capable of. And they're upset because they can see the other possibilities and that they don't think it's possible for them.
mm.
And so,
So-
yeah, so then getting back into it, I felt refreshed. And I felt like a new fire, a new passion that I could just like keep going.
mm,
And I was looking, I'm like, all right, there's got to be a trick, right? There's got to be some kind of something that, somebody else knows that I don't know. And I did some more research and I did some more digging. I'm like, you know what? Everybody that I see that is successful in this is two things. positive and consistent. And so
Mm,
like, all right, consistency has got to be the game changer.
mm,
So I decided that I was going to be really consistent. I started working on my business every day, posting to my social medias 3 times a day, showing up, giving my best. And that really made a huge world of difference. I started to see major growth pretty much right off the bat. So in the
yeah.
first 6 week in the first 6 weeks, I gained over 2,000 followers on my Instagram, and then the following 6 weeks, I've now gained 40,000.
Mm, wow. Wow. A couple of things are coming up for me in these powerful points. First and foremost, stepping back and taking a break and getting a different perspective is everything. Whether that's just stepping away from your computer or whatever you're doing and just going to bed
Yeah,
and waking up fresh,
yeah,
um, can be a game changer, as you did. And you had a lot going on,
yeah,
having a new baby, dealing with postpartum depression, and all of the things that you just described you were going through. Um, Coming back and after taking that break sounds like it was essential for you and such a smart move. And I think that for all of us, taking a break, stepping back, getting a different perspective, when you're in it, it's so hard to see. You've got the blinders on. It's so hard to see your blind spots. You feel overwhelmed. You feel like the world's on top of you, when sometimes, whether it be a longer break or even a good night's sleep, you can come back and feel like you're on top of the world.
absolutely.
Um, and so I think that's such an important point. I'm glad that you were able to do that and then come back and share that. Um, so when you in the discovery about having a good attitude or a positive attitude in being consistent, what what made that clear for you? How were you able to see that those two things were crucial?
Just looking at the top performers really in my specific niche and looking at the people who are doing very well, and just looking at how they interact, number one, with people around them, how they're providing value, and like how much they show up as themselves for their businesses, and seeing that consistently across the board of all of these people who are doing very well. Um, Being able to look at that and say, okay, well, we can connect some dots here versus some of the people who are complaining about not doing well, who are, showing up on their page getting mad, and they only post maybe once a week that they're mad that things aren't happening for them. And it's like, okay, we can see kind of a difference here. We can see what we don't want, so we can see what we do want. Let's move in the direction of what we do want.
Mm. And my experience, my experience is the principles that you're talking about right now of having a good attitude and showing up consistently are not just applicable here.
So true.
They are actually universal success principles that apply to anything that you do. So, my friends, I hope, and I'm getting value from this so far this morning, incredible value, just being reminded about these success principles. But I hope all of you are realizing that this really, what it takes to be successful with an online business, what it takes to be successful applying the skills and business models that we teach in our curriculum, is actually no dadgum different than anything else that you do in life. In order to be successful, you're going to have to show up consistently to it every day. If you want to build your own business, most likely it's going to be 7 days a week, plugging in some way, shape, or form. And you're going to have a positive attitude, because you ultimately are the person who they are doing business with. So whether you're selling watches, whether you're selling phone cases, whether you're selling phones, whether you're selling wallets, whether you're selling desks, computers, whether you're selling plumbing services, whether you're selling graphic art services, if you have a, excuse my French, shitty attitude, people are not going to want to be around you. They are not going to want to give you their money. They are not going to want to listen to you. They are not going to want to be around you. And this seems so obvious in the moment, but it's easy, as you were pointing out, to slip into that pessimistic
Yeah.
kind of complaining attitude because in a way we're kind of trained to complain
Right.
by coworkers and family members. It's a way in which we bond in some families and friend circles. We kind of complain about life. We complain about the government. We're given that message every day from news stations that if we just focus on the negative, then at least we'll have something to talk about. When in reality, the that's the exact opposite of the attitude and the mindset and the message that you need to have as a business owner, which is having solutions, finding the silver lining, and matching those solutions to people's problems. So now would you describe yourself as a solution provider with a good attitude? I mean, talk to us a little bit about how you've developed your message and
Yeah.
your personality in your content, and has that been a contributor to your growth from that 0 up to 40,000 followers?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest things that I am like really big about, part of my voice on my social media platform, is providing value. And it doesn't always have to necessarily lead people directly back to my links or anything like that. Like my goal is to help people and to provide a service to them and to be a positive influence that like is very encouraging. And so a lot, if you look on my page, you will see a lot of value. And I get hundreds of messages or comments every single day of people being like, wow, this was super helpful. I'm so glad, that you posted this, or that, you have extra insight on this. And I get a lot of feedback from my following because they're very engaged, because I'm very engaged. I'm not just posting to post. When I am working in my business, I'm talking directly to a set of people and finding a way to improve their lives. And
Mm,
so I think one big struggle is like a lot of the people at the top talk about like, okay, side hustle videos, right? And how that's been such a hot topic lately. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, I don't want to do side hustle videos. It's like, okay, don't do a bunch of like big inflamed, videos about like, yeah, you can make whatever in a day, right? Do videos that are like actually available and check them out for yourself. People will ask me questions about side hustles I post. And I'll be like, yeah, I've tried this because I have. I've taken the time to look into it and research it. And I think that's part of what sets me apart is I'm not just going to throw any random info I find and
mm,
slap it on a video and post it out there. I do my research to make sure that it's something that can add value to someone's life. My page is full of value in that way.
wow. I mean, this sounds groundbreaking, but it's really practical.
Yeah,
And it's for everybody listening. I'm hoping that this is hitting home for you as much as it is for me. It's a great reminder that the same thing that I built my career on is what you're building your career on, which is I have always strived to set myself apart by actually working with my clients, being engaged with my clients, staying up to date with what's relevant, what's working, and having been in the online business and marketing niche the majority of my career, the majority of what I share in my content, in training, and even marketing material is actual marketing that I've done that's either worked or not worked. And I'm sharing that with people, not philosophies, not concepts, not stuff that I heard and am now regurgitating just in hopes that it gets some clicks, but actual things that I've tested, that I've done, that I've tried, and then sharing those strategies with my followers or with my clients, and which not only helps me connect with them because they're like, I respect this guy because he's actually doing it or done it, not just because he's a talking head.
right.
So that's a huge bonding piece with your clients is
Yeah,
what you just said. Them knowing and believing that you are a student. Let me say it like this. that you eat your own cooking,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
you don't just tell them to do something that you're not willing to do or haven't done yourself. And this is such a huge leadership tip and principle as well, that all bad bosses tell people to do things that they don't want to do. All great leaders are willing to get down in the trenches with their, subordinates, if you will, or people that work for them, and do the very thing that they're asking them to do. And that is what garners the respect. The fact that they know that they're either willing to do it or have done it. I love that you brought that up. And it also helps you to speak, when people do have questions about things that you've posted about, you can actually answer them intelligently, right? Instead
Right.
of feeling like you've been caught off guard with your pants down. And then people start to get scammer vibes, like, are you even telling the truth, right? And then there's this, kind of disconnect. So
Exactly.
what I'm hearing is that no matter what you're posting, it's about building trust with
Absolutely.
your audience, and that engagement is more of a conversation, because things that you post, people are ultimately going to either immediately understand it and say, wow, that was really, I can tell that you put a lot of effort into that and thank you so much, or they're going to have a question. And because you've done it, or you've taken the time when you were creating that video to actually, flush it out a little bit, that you can answer that question intelligently. Did
Yeah.
I hit the nail on the head with the trust piece?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
talk to us a little bit about what else you're doing to, when I say trust, building trust with your audience, what else comes up for you in terms of what you're doing in your marketing and on a daily basis to build that trust with them?
I think the way that I respond to my haters builds trust. And I
Okay.
know it sounds a little bit weird, but like people can be super rude to me on my page. And I don't get very many of them, to be honest, in comparison to all of the amazing messages I get. I'll get a one-off of a person who's just mad. It's like, oh, this is a scammer kind of thing. And I'll ask them, I'll be like, okay, what about this made you think that this was a scam? How can I present this to you differently? Or I got one that was like, oh, you don't even look like you could make that much money, kind of thing, right? And this was talking about my job before. Like, I don't really do any kind of like posting my proof kind of content when it comes to like how much money I've made with making money online. I was talking about making money at my last job, and they're like, oh, you don't look like you could do that. I'm like, why not? And trying to challenge their perspective. And people will really get into the comments. And I have a comment I made back in the beginning of September. And I get at least 10 notifications a day from people liking my comeback to someone's comment because I responded in a kind way to where I was educating. And this is something that I've kind of taken upon in my speaking style, that it's like, if someone reacts to me negatively, I'm going to react in a positive way that shines light as if someone had asked me nicely. Because chances are 500 other people are going to read this comment, and I can either be snarky and be a jerk about it, or I can answer in a way that's witty, that also provides the additional information that they might be missing. And people can get value from that comment or from that response that I've made, instead of just coming back and being like, well, you're just a jerk, or hiding the comment or things like that. I actually encourage those kind of comments because I know that, like, I can keep my head about me. I don't need to, blow off steam at some random person on the internet. And I can talk to that. And I think a lot of my followers find that very one, as a way to build trust, as a
Yeah.
way to like, oh, she's actually here to educate, and as another thing is like, oh, she's not just some jerk who's going to blow up at random people in the internet.
I love that. Ludwig says, throw the hat. I'm on it, buddy. I'm on it. And Faye, you have the emotional maturity that it took me many years in this business to develop. It really did. I did not have that emotional maturity that you have right now. When I first got started, I would get snarky with people. If somebody was hating on me, I would immediately, in an insecure way, get defensive and clap back at them. And and you're right. That does absolutely nothing except show everybody else who sees that I'm not, it's not safe to make a negative comment around Dave because, he's going to fly off the handle. And I had to learn my lesson. I had to grow up. I started in this industry at 24 years old, 25 years old. And I was recovering from addiction and all these things. I was emotionally stunted. And so I've grown up in this business, and part of my maturing has been, watching people like yourself, and learning and being around safe people. I've had therapists and coaches and other people who have mentored me that as people were getting volatile around them, they remained calm, cool, and collected, and made it a safe place for people to have emotions, a full range of emotions, but they responded with patience, compassion, and kindness. And it does build an amazing amount of trust within your community, because I think the thing that is so like everything that you just said was powerful, but the fact that you mentioned that 500 other people are going to see how you respond to that comment is so true. And you may not persuade the person who you're responding to. They may stay negative, they may stay critical, but those other 500 people who are on the fence about you now see how you responded with such leadership and such kindness, and that you were a safe person that when challenged didn't get defensive and nasty, but stayed calm and kind. And it just builds incredible trust that you're a safe person, that you're a trustworthy leader. And I can tell you that from my own personal experience, that development in my own personality and leadership skills has been an absolute game changer. And I'm so thankful that you brought that up. Thank you so much. That's huge, really, really huge. And so what other powerful yet really practical, because any one of us can do what you just described. Any one of us can begin to adjust how we respond to our critics and haters. And in a way, even calling them haters, almost, what they really are is probably scared or probably feeling insecure themselves. So they're sort of projecting that onto other people. They're not really haters. There are really no haters. I mean, haters is just a way that we in society have kind of described, because we don't want to go into any emotional depth to, describe what somebody or guess what somebody's really feeling. But most likely it's fear, it's rejection, it's insecurity. What else have you found that's been really special and powerful in terms of building trust and connection with your audience? Anything else that comes up for you?
I think just like being willing to answer questions. Like I've had a few people who are like, "Oh, you're just gonna lead me to some guy that I'm gonna have to give my email to," and it's like, well, yes, in some cases they're like, "Well, I've done all the guides and I've bought all the courses and I still don't get it." I said, "Well, message me.
Mm,
What? Ask your question. What's your question? What is it that doesn't connect?" Because if you've done all the things and there's just something, I felt for a long time that I'm like, I just have to be missing something. And I wasn't missing anything except for giving things the proper amount of time to grow.
mm,
Like when you plant things, like I got into gardening last year. When you plant things, you don't dig under the soil to look and see if it started to sprout yet. You do that, you're going to damage the seed. And I think in business, we just think, oh, if I just take a quick peek, it's not going to be a big deal. If I just look real quick, you know,
yeah.
but
You,
we're so eager to try and see any sign of growth that we end up smothering it. We end up killing the seed.
yes.
And this is something I see that happens really, really frequently, even in myself. I'm like, I'm there must be something missing. I'm watering it too much. I'm not watering it enough. There's got to be something. Everybody else has got Miracle Grow, and I've just got tap water.
Oh, girl, you're killing it with the analogies. They're so funny. Oh my God. The quick peek. Oh, Faye. Wow. You're hit. I mean, who can relate? I mean, I can relate. I'm just sitting here going, you are describing new marketers to a T with this analogy right now. And in marketing, there's nothing more powerful than the perfect analogy, right? So this
Right.
is so good in so many ways, but you're right. We love to just, we can't just let the damn thing grow. We gotta just peek. We gotta take a peek. And somebody even just said in the comments, she's so right. I'm always changing my bio and I'm gonna go in there and mess with my funnel. Something must be broke, and I'm gonna go back in there. Maybe it's like you've gotten no hits to it. It's not
Yeah.
even enough traffic to know if something's working or not.
Yeah.
You're in the very beginning freckle on the pimple of a gnat's ass stage. You haven't even really gotten going yet, but you're already wanting to peak, wanting to dig that seed up just to see if it's okay. And you're right, in the process of doing that, we damage it or even kill it, because that's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Not only are we're sort of killing the instead of focusing on just creating more, just looking to the future. We want to look at what we've already done, and we want to keep rehashing that.
Mhm.
So how do you with all of the things that you could be tweaking and testing, how did you get into a mode of consistency? Was there a time at which you kept messing with your this or that, and you finally just threw your hands up and was like, I'm not doing anything here? Was there a defining moment? And how did you move into a more um, schedule or consistent workflow? Like, what changed? Was there a defining moment? And then what came out of that now is working in terms of the schedule, workflow, or productivity kind of flow that you're into, that's working for you, that's keeping you consistent?
Yeah. So definitely looking at, so for starters, I'm a millennial and we're known as the Gen Y, right? Generation Y, because we ask all the questions and we need to know why everything works the way it does. We like to have everything explained and then explain a why that happens, not just like, hey, if you lift up the tap, water's going to come out. Okay, why? Well, because there's pipes underneath and those are going to push water out of the tap, you know? And in that same way, I really, once I figured out the why behind why certain things worked, and I was able to put those in place, and I left them alone. But it wasn't until I understood the why that I was willing to leave it alone.
Mm.
Because like for an example, like with your bio, how many times we change our bio over and over again thinking like, this is the one that's going to get me all the followers. And understanding like what points of your bio have to do with what, like if I think you have an example somewhere in the blueprints where you talk about like, okay, if you talk about your dog, right, and you don't have a dog related niche, and everything on your bio is I love my dog and I love my coffee, nobody knows why to follow you. There's no good reason. If you have everything pinpointed, you're probably good. Like leave it for a minute and then work on becoming someone who is consistent. So like for me, I was posting 3 times a day for about 6 weeks. And that was just to get my momentum, right? And you think about, not every single early video is going to get you a sale right away, but you can push yourself. If you're pushing yourself up a hill and you're like, great, now I'm at this point where I've got a certain amount of followers, all of that content creation has pushed you up the hill. And now you're ready to come down and all the easy stuff happens. And it happens really fast once it does. But like all of this build up, think about all of your creation. So like if you're posting 3 times a day, that's just helping you get up the hill faster. If you're only posting 1 times a day, but you can still be consistent with that 1 time a day, you're still pushing yourself up the hill. It's just a little bit slower. And I've seen a lot of people ask, and myself included, I have asked, and it's like, okay, what if I post 5 times a day? Okay, well, then the algorithm's going to see you as spam because you're doing too much. Too much of your content is out there. It can't get seen because it's trying to flood the internet, essentially.
Mm.
Just working consistently up the hill, whether it's 1 time a day or 3 times a day, depending on how fast you can grow, how fast you want to grow, you're going to just keep pushing yourself up the hill, and you're going to get to that point where it's like, okay, this is the floodgates, we're ready. And then everything's going to go down the hill really easily. It's going to be a fun ride, and you're just going to be able to enjoy it without having to continue to push and push and push. And then you'll come to different divots in that where it's like, okay, now it's time to push again. And then we're going to enjoy the benefits. And then now we're going to push again. And it's, that's just the way that things are. I think about it like going up and down the hills. Nothing is ever going to be flat, or just up, 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 down, down, down. There's going to be ups and downs within the business throughout different years. And if you're planning for like a 1-year plan or a 5-year plan or whatever, and you're in this for the long run, you're going to see those divots in everything you do. Not everything is like, we have perfect days every day.
Yeah.
No, life happens. And so taking that into consideration, knowing, okay, well, this is just the up part of the hill. I just have to push a little bit more, you know?
I've always described that as promotional cycles.
Yeah.
And what I would do, and this still applies to this day, I've just tried to get into more of an evergreen flow of promotion now to where it's pretty consistent. But as an affiliate, when I started and was only doing affiliate marketing, these promotional cycles, what they would do, what I mean by that is, for a couple of weeks at a time, I would push really hard on a specific thing that I was promoting. Maybe that would be a new guide. Like in the case of how that might apply to all of us now, maybe that might be a new guide that I'm promoting. I've uploaded a new guide and I'm giving it away. It's brand new. It just came out. I just got done writing it, right? And so I'm talking about that new guide. I'm promoting that new guide a lot because it's something new, it's fresh. It might even become at the end of that promotional cycle where I take that guide down, right? So there's a little bit of a fear of loss for people to go and email and download that guide. That pushes a lot of people in a specific direction, and I'm really loud about that particular guide. Now, if I was in my email, which is a place that I sell more, I don't particularly sell on my social media pages because that's not really the best place to be selling. You want to be providing free value and focused only on generating leads from your social media. Now, this is for all businesses, friends. So this certainly applies to the core 4 business models that we teach, but all businesses, social media is a lead generation machine. It's a platform that we can generate leads. And so in my email, what a promotional cycle might be where I sell more would be where I'm actually promoting a specific product or coaching program or somebody else's product for a specific period of time. And I'm going really hard for maybe 7 to 10 days about that. I'm emailing the heck. Almost every email it's got a sales pitch in it. And then once that promotional cycle is over, maybe I've brought it to a crescendo or an end by saying, hey, my bonuses are going to go away for this at midnight tonight or midnight on Thursday. Right now, I'm giving away a free group coaching call if you buy this through my affiliate link, and that offer ends this Thursday because I'm going to do the coaching call on Friday. That would be the end of the promotional cycle. I've pushed really hard. I've emailed the heck out of my list to sell this particular thing. I've offered a bonus. There's a time limit, meaning that you got to get it by a certain time. These are all elements that help you sell more in email. And then once I'm done with that promotional cycle, now all of a sudden in my emails, I'm going to shift over to a lot more relaxed, just kind of value emails. Right. Because I just hammered the hell out of my list for 7 to 10 days with nothing but salesy pitches every single day. And I made a lot of sales because I pushed hard and I did it in a way that makes stuff happen I added bonuses, I added a deadline. But now all of a sudden that particular promotional site, and it was a lot of work as you described, that I was sending more emails than I usually do. I did take more time to write them because I was selling in them. So now I'm going to move over and I'm going to not email every day or twice a day like I was. I'm going to coast a little bit more. I'm going to send only value-based emails for the next week or so, right? That would be an example of how I did what you just described in sort of theory. That was the way that I practiced that. And you know what? All successful marketers do in some way, shape, or form. A lot of what you just described would be a product launch where you've seen big course creators or big gurus launch a piece of software or a course. You know, once a year, Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, I think is his name, get together and launch a big course on doing masterminds, and they have a software that goes with it. And for 7 days or so, they put out a bunch of free content with a sales pitch at the end. They're going live, they're doing webinars, and there's a deadline, and there's bonuses that are involved if you get if you buy the program. And there's a lot of work. There's a big amount of effort that's put into that. And you know, those guys, I think last promotion that I heard that they did, I didn't participate in the promotion of it, but they did like $25 million in sales in a matter of a week or so because of all of that energy and effort that was put into that promotional cycle. And then once that was done, you'll notice that their marketing, their emails, their social media pages all just kind of lighten up, and they just kind of give their audience a break from the heavy pitching. What comes up for you as I describe a little bit of what you just were talking about in theory there with the ebbs and flows, or the, as I called it, the promotional cycles?
I think what comes to mind for me is like avoiding burnout. I think a lot of people burn out right before the magic happens, or they get frustrated and they're like, oh, this won't work. Like there was, for me, there was a point where like I had a viral video and that really helped with my growth. Right. And because I had that viral video happen, and it was like right at a time where like, man, am I sure this is really working? And there are ways to tell like when things are like able to go viral or whatnot, like things like that. But like, I'm like, man, I'm posting every day. Am I sure? Am I sure? Am I sure? And I think you tend to question yourself when you don't see the results happening at the beginning, right? You're like, is this really? But holding on to your beliefs, for one, I think is really important. And continuing and knowing, like having faith that it's going to continue working, right? Like I know that as I continue posting forward, I am building momentum for my success. And that's something that I think all the time. Like I know I am building momentum for my own success. And so I'm going to keep showing up. And sometimes what happens is people get really discouraged and they start to feel that burnout, like, oh man, my cup is really empty. I don't know if I can, make another video today. And there are definitely ways that like you can reuse your content. Like if you need to take a break, take a break. There are ways that you can utilize the things that you've already created in order to give yourself a break. Because when you just go, 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 it's important, yes, to stay consistent. Consistency is super important, but also make sure that you're giving yourself appropriate breaks, because if burnout gets you, like it's hard to get back up out of that, you know? And
Yeah.
so like having things in place where you can take that break as needed, where you can, step back and work on yourself, instead of just, oh, business, business, business. Like, yes, the business is very important, but remember that you are the core of your business. And like you got to take care of yourself to take care of your business. If you're sick for a week, you should have something in place where you can just, I need a week. I got my post ready, whether that's making one extra post a day and not posting it and just keeping that in your draft so you can use it for a rainy day. Or if that is like, funny story, we had very big week, and we end up having a funeral for a family member, and I'm like, I'm not posting today, I'm too tired. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, my husband's not even up yet. And I'm like, you know what? No, I need to stay consistent. I don't have anything in my drafts I can use. I'm just gonna remix a video.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, great. I can just, make myself really small and I can record, and then, it'll do all of the things that I've done in the past video, and then I'll just post it. Well, something was weird and it wasn't posting. So I exited out, went back in, and I went to upload it. I'm like, oh, the sound's just not loading. You know, it must have just been like a viral sound that was in the background, not a big deal. Just delete it and it'll be fine. Well, I didn't realize that if you delete the sound on something that you remix, that it uses the sound from your camera instead. And my husband was snoring in the bed next to me. And so I posted the video and I was trying to be quiet. So I didn't listen to it first. And I got a bunch of comments saying like, who needs a CPAP machine? Yeah, someone's snoring, someone, got the chainsaw in the background there. Is everybody okay? And just tons of comments started flooding in for this post. And I'm like, I cannot believe I just posted my husband snoring on social media instead of like my actual voice. So of course I went in there and I deleted it, but like, it just goes to show even, people with 40,000 followers make mistakes. If I can do this, and I'm over here posting a snoring man in my social media, anyone else can do this too.
Yes, and it's fine to make mistakes. I think we're
Yeah.
somehow along the way. I all of what you're talking about reminds me of what I was doing yesterday with my let's see, why is this not sharing? Let's see here. Maybe now it'll share. Um, I was I was practicing baseball with my son because he's getting ready to start t-ball, and he's 3. He just turned 3, right? So we were. He's got a pretty good swing for a 3-year-old. I mean, he had his little helmet on there, and we were of course trying everything on. We went to Play It Again Sports. I don't know if you guys have the Play It Again. It used to be Play It Again Sam's actually, but now it's Play It Again Sports. And we went and got a bunch of sports, baseball equipment. I wanted to take him to help him so he could be a part of picking it out and everything. This was us getting some of that equipment. He was trying on helmets. Of course, he was putting it on the wrong way. Had to tell him to turn it around. But as we were batting and playing, I reminded him, "Have fun, son. Have fun." We got a big old bucket of balls, and we're sitting there putting them on the tee and taking some big old swings, and he was getting pretty serious. He wanted to have a really big hit. And he again. I was watching him really take this serious and really want to be successful with this, and really want to hit that ball nice and hard right into that net. And I just kept on saying, let's have fun with this one, son. Okay, deep breath. Let's remember to have fun. And I think that we can also take ourselves so seriously in this whole process that it's not fun anymore, and that really can contribute to our attitude, and that can also contribute to our consistency.
Mhm.
And they all kind of play into each other. And one of the reasons why I started this, I can tell you, is back when I was 25 years old. I had gotten clean recently, and I was working construction with my father here in the hot Florida sun. And it was not fun. It was not fun. I was hot. I was miserable. I was broke. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was learning a lot more than I realized I was learning at that time. I look back on it now, and there's a lot of wonderful principles that I learned from my father during that, such as in what integrity is, doing the right thing when nobody's looking, right? Because when you're building somebody's kitchen or bathroom, they're gone most of the time. You're working in their house when they're not there, and you can cut corners and things. And my father used to never allow me to cut a corner. He'd make me rip the whole damn thing out if I cut a corner. But ultimately, I wanted to do this because I wanted to work from home. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to work more with my head than my hands, right? And I wanted to have fun. I wanted my work to be fun. And I think for a lot of us who have really also, I've talked to so many people who have wonderful jobs, meaningful careers in all different, I mean, from doctors to tradesmen to nurses to accountants to, eh, all kinds of different professions. And many of us are experiencing that burnout in that
Yeah.
sort of, well, this was cool at first, but it's not really fun anymore now that I have kids and a family and I don't have any time with it. Right. So part of, I think, be making this a long-term thing is remembering that, like, I don't have to take myself so seriously. And if
Exactly.
I do, nobody else probably will. And I think that, I mean, you see me here on the show, I'm not so damn serious that I won't DDT a hat, or, get crazy here on the, you gotta have fun, because not only does that help you to want to come back every day and keep at it, but it also lightens the mood for your audience and people that are listening, and doesn't make it such a dry newscast, but more of it adds that entertainment to that education, which really makes that edutainment factor come to life. Does that resonate with you? And I of course thought of that as you were talking, but how important it is to make sure that we're not taking ourselves too seriously, not over criticizing or trying to be too perfect, and just having fun with this as we're earning or as we're learning, and remembering that we're never going to arrive.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I definitely have seen the difference in my growth between when I first started. I was so rigid. And, when you first make your first video and you're sitting here, you're shaking and you're like, oh, no, that was terrible. Oh, no, that was terrible. And for me, my first reel on Instagram took me over 2 hours to make and it was like a 30-second reel. It was not a big deal, but it took me over 2 hours to make because I was so like, oh, it has to be perfect. And now I'm just like, I've got the 1, 2, 3 screw it rule. Like, you know what? That looks pretty good. We'll just go with that. That's fine. It's gonna work. It's got the value. That's what's important. It doesn't matter if I've got a hair out of place, or if they can see a cup in my background. Like, it's gonna be fine. We're so focused on perfection that we forget that people aren't perfect. And
Mm,
if you seem perfect and you're not, right, you come across and oh well, of course people like you can do it. It kind of takes away from the real value, which is like showing like, hey, I'm an ordinary mom. I have 3 kids. I live where it's too cold. And I deal with everyday things just like everybody else does. And it takes away from that realness, which is part of the value, right? Part of the inspiration comes from like, man, if they can do it, I can do it too, right? Is giving that encouragement, is showing up as a real person instead of worrying so much about perfection.
mm.
Worrying so much of like, oh, I gotta do my makeup for 2 hours before I'm gonna show up. I actually don't do any makeup. I sometimes just slap a filter on there and call that a day, because I want to show up as much of my authentic self as possible, in this space, because that is ultimately what is going to make people attracted to you, is
Mm,
showing up in your authentic personality. Like, yeah, you can go ahead and copy, whatever you want to from other people's stuff. But if you're not being true to who you are, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to burn out. You're not going to show up in a way that people want to see you. They're going to see that it's not authentic.
mm,
And that's why it's important, like, put your own spin on things, talk in your real voice. Don't try to be cookie cutter and perfect, because people ultimately are here and they follow you and they interact with you and they buy from you because you are you. And that's a huge thing that I think a lot of people miss. They're like, how can I be, Becca? How can I be Caroline? How can I be Chelsea? How can I be these people? But it's like, no, who are you? And why is it that it's you, right? You are worthy in yourself for the success that you want to see, and just being true to you is what makes all the difference.
and that really is true no matter, what you're doing, in any job or business, but particularly online. I've see people in so many different niches who have, the most successful ones are the ones that let themselves shine through, They don't try to filter themselves. They don't try to be something that they're not. I think we're in this kind of time in life right now where authenticity is sort of everything. Everybody is looking out for the scam, the fake, the over edited. We see that in terms of what works in marketing. Even the big companies are using everyday iPhone videos for their marketing material, like because people just have a resistance to anything that feels over edited or fake or like it's full of actors. And so the more real that you can be, the more that you can let your personality shine through, no matter what it is that you're marketing, that becomes your brand, that becomes your message, that becomes the spice. We're like, if a good analogy is that we're all pieces of chicken out here, right? It's just, what's the seasoning on yours? Like, what seasoning do you have when somebody takes a bite out of your content? What flavors start exploding inside of their mouth? Do they take it? Do they take a bite? Meaning, do they watch a video or two of yours and it's just like, this tastes like every other piece of chicken I've ever had or that I see out here? Or are they like, ooh, spicy, or ooh, savory, or ooh, sweet? That's, like, what's the reaction when they're, how, when anytime you see somebody taking a bite of something, they're like taking it in, like, what is that? Like, ooh, wow, flavors exploding in my mouth. Wow, that's really unique and different. We want to have some sort of a unique flavor. And each one of us has that because it may be hard to be yourself, which is ironic, right? Like, it may be hard to be yourself in front of other people, like your most authentic self, the person who you are when nobody's looking, or when you're with your best friend or your most comfortable person. But that's who your most attractive self is,
Right.
right? That's who your most trustworthy self is, that person. Your most attractive self is that person. Your most the way you're going to get people to know, like, and trust you in any niche is that person.
Yeah.
And that's the style of marketing that works nowadays. It's not paid actors. It's not, it's regular people marketing products on the internet based on their own personal experience and their own personality. And you've hit so many of these points so well, right on the head. So my final question to you is, what have you learned about yourself in these last 8 months during this journey?
I think I've learned that for myself, about myself, um, just finding my worth, I think, is a good way to put that. Um, Before this, I was very camera shy, very nervous, very self conscious. And just seeing how much I've been able to grow and move forward has definitely helped me put my head back on my shoulders.
Mm,
Um, Especially as someone who, I've always been very career driven. I've worked my way up in factories for the last almost 10 years now.
mm,
And I've always been like, oh yeah, I can make my identity in my job,
mm,
or my identity has been myself as a mom. And having this and being like, well, yes, part of the identity is in the business itself, because it gives me something outside to look at. But also understanding the business is me, right? I am my own brand. And the fact that so many people are attracted to the brand that I present just by being myself, I
mm,
think has given me a huge confidence boost, which in turn I think also helps the business. So I think definitely something I have learned is like, just trust yourself, you know, learning how to trust myself, and like that I know I'm gonna get it, have faith in myself, because I'm here for the long run. I'm here for the big wins, and I'm not gonna accept anything less than that because now I know my value.
mm. Good for you. I can see your value without a doubt, and everybody else has been able to this morning as well. The comments have blown up with like just oohs and ahs from the different, nuggets and experience and wisdom that you've shared. So, I mean, you've demonstrated that so clearly this morning, and it's been an absolute pleasure and a blast to, hang with you here for this hour. So, come back and see me. Keep me posted on your journey. It's going to be so exciting to see where you're at in a few months, because you're clearly on a mission and you have, a North Star. Like you're clear and you're moving swiftly. And you're just at the beginning. I know it feels like you've made so much progress, and you have. But if I think back to 8 months into my journey, it was really just the beginning. And so I can't wait to see what comes your way and what you create. So keep up the great work. Thanks for your time this morning away from your family and your business, and stay legendary, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Faye.
All right.
All right, my friends, you can find Faye over on Instagram at This Business Mom. Okay. Handle is spelled exactly as it sounds. This Business Mom. You can find Faye over on Instagram at This Business Mom. Well, my friends, I mean, that is a really crystal clear example of what's possible, and a really practical way to approach what we're teaching and what we're doing here, which is the core 4 business models to sell information online, courses, coaching, events, starting with affiliate marketing if you're brand new. Faye coming in completely new, having just had a baby, dealing with some of the challenges that come along with being a new mom. She explained those very clearly. We all understand what that is, and taking the necessary steps in order to take care of herself, but also to stay focused. And then some of the really wonderful leadership qualities that she's developed along the way, about how to deal with critics and haters, as we call them, how to create content, how to build trust. I mean, there's been just an absolute dump truck of platinum nuggets dumped right in your driveway. Spend the rest of the day, my friend, shoveling all of those nuggets up. I'm going to do the same and get on out of here, get off to work to actually apply some of this stuff. I learned so much this morning and was, re-inspired. Of course, I love being inspired by meeting with all of you and doing this show every morning. Thank you for all the comments. I read them as they come through. I also go back and review them, and I hope Faye does as well, because there has been some absolute, just really amazing, supportive, loving comments that have come through today. Thank you all so much for that. It makes the show so fun, and such an honor to do when you guys are giving us so much back in the comments. I hope Faye gets a chance to be able to go back and review those as well, because you guys have just been nothing short of legendary in the comment box today, just dropping love and feedback. And if you had a question we didn't get to, apologies, but I think that we dropped enough for you to digest and get a big old full belly this morning full of value. So go and digest that, my friends. Marinate on some of the concepts and the principles and the strategies that we dropped for you this morning. And most importantly, put them into action. Okay. And we'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode. We do this Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We then take the episode, leave it right here on the Facebook page for you all to review and watch as many times as you want. We take the audio and we strip it and repurpose it and put it on all the major podcast platforms, so you can re-listen to the episode if you just type in Wake Up Legendary into any of the major podcast platforms. If you want to get a text message reminder whenever we go live, text WUL, the letters WUL for Wake Up Legendary, to 813-296-8553. Again, 813-296-8553. That's my radio broadcast announcement. And if you're ready or wanting to start or start over, go to legendarymarketer.com/enroll and get into the challenge. Enroll in the blueprints if you can and want to. Come to one of our masterminds. We'd love to meet you where you're at and help you build the business that you want to build. My friends, thank you so much for being here this morning, for listening to everything that we had to say, learning, and of course, Faye, for such a powerful, inspirational, clear message this morning of value, of success, of what it actually takes to be able to do this. This one is worth a re-listen. Get out of here, my friends. Love you all. See you back here tomorrow for another episode of the greatest marketing show on earth. Wake up, Legendary. Peace.